And I give the call to the member for Ryan.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I rise today to speak in support of the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Amendment Bill. I speak in support of this bill in the main to highlight to the many concerned constituents in my electorate of Ryan that I'm very conscious of their concerns about the management of the reef. Queensland is truly blessed to have the world's largest coral reef adorning our northern coastline. As a World Heritage listed site, the Great Barrier Reef boasts intrinsic beauty and incredible biodiversity. Ensuring the health of the reef, which supports tens of thousands of jobs, is of paramount importance to our government. For this reef, we will do more than any prior government. From Canberra to Timbuktu and all stops in between, the Great Barrier Reef is the envy of the world. This bill will guarantee the protective management of the reef through amendments to the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Act 1975. Specifically, amendments within this bill seek to rectify an unintended consequence of the sunsetting regime and prevent plans of management being revoked. Under the Legislation Act 2003, regulations made under the Marine Park Act are automatically repealed every 10 years. These regulations are due to sunset on 1 April next year. One might say, why not just remake or repeal the regulations in order to resolve this situation? Simply put, this would still trigger a provision within the Marine Park Act which will result in the current management plans being revoked. The provisions within this bill will resolve this issue, so that plans of management will not be revoked when regulations made under the Marine Park Act are repealed. Plans of management play a critical role in ensuring the use of the marine park for tourism purposes is best practice and sustainable. The North Queensland economy has struggled in recent times from high levels of unemployment, and with support from the Coalition to ensure a responsible and viable tourism industry on the Great Barrier Reef, I know that opportunity is bountiful. Let me reassure the House that only a Coalition government has a forethought to proactively approach this matter. Mr Deputy Speaker, I segue into Labor's disastrous environmental record, akin to the antics of loot and plunder of the TV series Captain Planet. After 6 years of Labor mismanagement under Labor's watchful eye, the World Heritage Committee placed the Great Barrier Reef on an in danger list. For a group which purports to be quasi-environmental warriors, it never ceases to amaze me that they just cannot seem to get it right. Just like everything Labor does, they cannot be trusted. In close partnership with their Greens and independent allies, Labor saw 5 massive dredge disposal projects planned for the Great Barrier Reef Park. The Coalition took unprecedented action to fix Labor's mess. We ended all 5 dredge disposal plans. We banned all future capital dredge disposal projects in the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park. Let us not forget that it was the Coalition government which developed the Comprehensive Reef 2050 Long-Term Sustainability Plan, setting out our strategy to manage, protect and improve the reef for future generations. This plan was endorsed by the World Heritage Committee on 5 July. Time and time again we hear from the Greens and Labor about the state of the reef. In true Labor and Greens fashion, it is all talk and no action. In contrast, and as a result of the Coalition's actions, the World Heritage Committee removed Australia from the in danger watch list and indeed praised Australia as a global leader in reef management. I do not believe I have ever heard the World Heritage Committee praising Labor. Mr Deputy Speaker, let me take this opportunity to reiterate in the House the Coalition's achievements, not only for the Great Barrier Reef, but also for marine conservation in general. The original size of the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park was 17,000 square kilometres. As a result of the Coalition governments, today it is 344,400 square kilometres and extends 2,300 kilometres along the Queensland coast. This includes expanding the marine park's no-take sanctuary areas from 5% to 33%. Many of the most important initiatives in relation to marine protected areas in Australia's jurisdiction have been delivered by Liberal national governments. In his first term as Prime Minister, John Howard established the world's first oceans policy in 1998. More than 15 years later, this policy approach to marine conservation and management was the basis on which the world's longest network of marine parks and sanctuaries was established here in Australia. Under coalition leadership, Australia has boosted protection for whales, seals and seabirds in the Southern Ocean by expanding the Heard Island and McDonald Island Marine Reserve and creating the largest fully protected sanctuary in our exclusive economic zone. Successive coalition, federal and state governments have placed a prohibition on oil and gas in the Great Barrier Reef, banned whaling, banned sand mining on Fraser Island, created the first stage of the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park, World Heritage listed the Great Barrier Reef and created the Cairns section, established the Lihu Reef Natural Nature Reserve in the Coral Sea, the Coringa Herald National Nature Reserve, the Solitary Islands Marine Reserve, the Great Australian Bight Marine Park, the Australian Whale Sanctuary Tasmania Seamounts Marine Park, Macquarie Island Marine Reserve, Lord Howe Island Marine Park, Cartier Island Marine Reserve, Heard Island and McDonald Island Marine Reserve, Great Barrier Reef Marine Park expansion of green zones, Cod Grounds Marine Park, South East Commonwealth Marine Reserves Network, which includes another 13 marine reserves, and the Lalang Jarram Camden Sound Marine Park and Nari Capes Marine Park in Western Australia. And Mr Deputy Speaker, you don't have to take my word for it. This is taken from a publication called Save Our Marine Life, which was produced by an alliance of leading conservation organisations working to protect Australia's marine life and way of life, and they published this in recognition of coalition government's legacy for reserves and for Australia. And it bears repeating, Mr Deputy Speaker, that, as I mentioned previously, it was a coalition government which banned capital dredge disposal in the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park. And it was the Fraser government of 1975 which banned oil and gas operations on the reef. Over the next decade, the coalition has committed $2 billion to protecting the reef. This funding includes commitments to the Clean Energy Finance Corporation's Reef Fund to make finance available for businesses to deliver clean energy outcomes alongside other benefits for the reef. $210 million for the establishment of the Reef Trust, which focuses on improving water quality through sediment and nutrient runoff. More than $22 million to cull the invasive crown-of-thorns starfish. In the words of Robert Hill, Minister for the Environment in the Howard Government, and I quote, "We believe that a comprehensive and representative system of marine parks is an essential component of our efforts to protect Australia's unique biodiversity." The next time Labor, Greens or any other party like GetUp has a desire to denigrate the Coalition's track record of marine conservation, then I encourage them to refer back to this speech for a taste of their failings and our achievements. Local residents of the Ryan electorate and all Australians can be assured that the Coalition Government will ensure that Australia's natural wonders will be preserved for our future generations to enjoy. Queenslanders, Australians and international tourists will continue to enjoy our great state and the range of natural attractions it has to offer. With 4 plans of management in place currently, it is vital that this bill be supported by all in this House to continue the protections and benefits afforded to the Great Barrier Reef. I refer back to Robert Hill when he says, "This is a legacy we can be very proud of now and well into the future." The Great Barrier Reef has always been and always will be Australia's reef. Queensland, beautiful one day, perfect the next. I commend this bill to the House.
I thank the member.